Hey everyone, welcome back to Monday Positivity, where we dive deep into topics that empower you to live authentically and confidently. Today we are tackling something we all tend to struggle with, feeling the need to explain ourselves. How often have you found yourself over explaining your choices, justifying your decisions, or trying to make others understand why you do what you do? The truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation for living your life on your terms. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why it's important to stop over explaining and start standing firm in your decisions. Let's start by acknowledging where this need to over explain comes from. Many of us have been conditioned to seek approval from others. Whether it's from our parents, friends, or society at large, we feel like we need to justify our actions to be accepted or understood. This is especially true if you've grown up in environments where you felt judged or misunderstood. You may have learned that offering explanations was a way to prevent conflict or gain approval. But here's the thing, explaining yourself constantly doesn't bring peace or satisfaction. It's a form of self doubt and a way of saying, I'm not sure I'm allowed to make this decision unless you approve of it. When you over explain, you're giving your power away and you're placing your sense of worth in someone else's hands. So, what's the cost of this habit? For one, it can be exhausting. Constantly explaining yourself requires energy, mental, emotional, and sometimes even physical. You might find yourself rehashing, conversations in your mind, wondering if you said the right thing or if the person understood your reasons. And this mental loop can create unnecessary anxiety and self doubt. Over explaining also erodes your confidence when you feel the need to justify your choices all the time. You are actually questioning your own decisions. It sends the message to yourself and others that you're not fully sure of your actions and that you need external validation to feel secure. Another cost is that over explaining can blur your boundaries. Instead of standing firm in your decisions, you might let others' opinions influence or sway you. This can lead to frustration, resentment as you find yourself compromising your own values to make others feel comfortable or satisfied. Now, let's explore the power of not explaining yourself. When you stop feeling the need to justify your choices, you reclaim your autonomy and self worth. You are saying, I trust myself and my decisions, and I don't need external approval to validate them. This is a powerful stance because it frees you from the pressure of constantly seeking others' understanding. One of the greatest benefits of letting go of the need to explain is also inner peace. You no longer have to worry about whether others understand or agree with you. You're living in alignment with your values, and that's all that matters. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people, it just means you no longer allow their opinions to dictate your actions. And additionally, standing firm without explaining enhances your confidence. The more you practice this, the more you'll trust yourself and your ability to make decisions without second guessing. It strengthens your sense of self and reinforces that you are the ultimate authority in your own life. Now, let's be clear. There are times when explanations are necessary, explanations are appropriate. For example, in relationships, communication is the key. If you are making a decision that impacts others, it's considerate to explain your reasoning to help maintain trust and understanding. This is specifically important in close relationships, romantic partnerships, or even work settings where clarity can prevent misunderstandings. But the kind of explanation we're talking about today is the unnecessary kind, the kind where you feel pressured to justify decisions that are personal and don't require external validation. So let's talk about when it's okay to not explain, right? And these situations often include things like turning down an invitation because you need alone time, maybe changing careers to pursue a passion that others may not understand, setting a boundary with someone who is overstepping and maybe they are not even realizing it, even making lifestyle choices that may not align with societal expectations. In these cases, over explaining often opens the door for people to question your decision or offer even unsolicited advice. When you explain less, you're also setting a boundary. You're signaling that your choices are not up for debate and that you trust yourself enough to stand by them. So, how do we break the habit of over explaining? Here are some actionable steps. Number one, practice silence. Sometimes, less is more. When someone questions your decision, resist the urge to fill the silence with explanations. A simple, "this is what I've decided," or "it's a personal choice," is often enough. The simple statement is enough. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's a powerful way to reclaim your space. Step number two, get comfortable with discomfort. The fear of not being understood can trigger anxiety, but it's important to get comfortable with that feeling. Understand that not everyone will agree with or understand your decisions, and that's perfectly fine. Your worth is not tied to someone else's approval. And I also created an episode on being okay with being misunderstood. Um, if you are someone who is not comfortable with the feeling of being misunderstood, you should check that episode out. I will link it somewhere in this episode. And step number three is to set boundaries. If you found yourself in a situation where someone kept pressing you for an explanation, did you set a boundary? Because I'm here to tell you it's okay to set a boundary. You can say something like, "I understand you have a question, but this decision is personal and I'm not looking for input right now." And this sets a clear line without engaging in unnecessary justification. And then you also need to reaffirm your decision to yourself. After making a decision, it's really helpful to internally reaffirm it. Remind yourself why you made that choice and that it aligns with your values. This helps build confidence and reduces the impulse to seek external validation. And also stop seeking approval. Over explaining is often a way to seek approval. So you need to start practicing making decisions without looking for others' validation. Trust that your reasoning is sound and that you don't need to justify your choices to anyone else. And the last one, I think it's very important. Use no as a complete sentence. Sometimes, a simple no is all that's needed. You don't need to elaborate on why you're saying no or offer excuses. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to stand firm without feeling the need to explain. Now, let me share a personal story to illustrate this. A friend of mine used to struggle with turning down social invitations. Every time she declined, she felt the need to explain herself, offering reasons like "I'm too tired" or "I have other plans," even when she just needed some time alone. Eventually, she realized that these explanations were not necessary. They were just a way to, justify her choice. But they often led to guilt or pressure to say yes in the future. So she started practicing saying no without explaining. "No, I can't make it," was her go to response. At first, it felt uncomfortable, but over time, she realized that people respected her decision more when she didn't offer excuses. She felt empowered, and her social anxiety diminished. It started reducing because she no longer felt obligated to justify her choices. So, what I'm trying to say is, you don't owe anyone an explanation for living your life on your terms. Over explaining is a habit rooted in fear and the need for approval, but it often leads to self doubt, anxiety, and compromised boundaries. By letting go of the need to justify yourself, you reclaim your autonomy, boost your confidence, and create healthier boundaries with those around you. So the next time you feel the urge to explain, take a step back, breathe, and remind yourself you don't need to. Trust in your decisions and let your actions speak for themselves. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who could benefit from hearing it. Until next time, remember to stand firm in your truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation.